Welcome in, everybody. Time for the Friday afternoon live stream brought to you by Garage Beer, our sponsor each and every Friday afternoon. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton. Oh, look at Rod Babers with the prop there for
Oh, yeah.
Garage Beer. There you go.
It's more than a prop. It's more than a prop, Bobby. Once we're done at 4 or 5 here, it'll be more than a prop.
Hey, we have a little bit of breaking news today. Gerry Hamilton earlier this morning had said he did not think Texas would be done making scholarship offers to 2026 recruits. And lo and behold, about 3 hours later, Texas offers a new prospect. This one from in-state. Gerry, give us the lowdown.
Yeah, and by the way, I still don't think they're done offering guys. I just don't think they are. I think my Legend Bay out of North Forney, obviously one of the faster players in the state with track times that are in the 10.5 range. And, you know, on his social media, he says 10.2. He's a Tennessee commit. He already made an official visit to Ohio State last weekend, by the way. 5'10 and a half, about 175, 180-pound wide receiver that plays quarterback for North Forney there in Forney. Really electric player. Guys, that's got tremendous hands that doesn't show up because he plays high school quarterback other than catching shotgun snaps that are low at times. But just one of the faster players, having one of the bigger seasons and more productive seasons in the state of Texas. And look, he made official visits in June to Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Duke. So since the season began, obviously Ohio State brought him in for the visit. Now Texas offers him today. He's a guy that has passed for over 2,100 yards the last two seasons, ran for over 2,500 yards. That's going into his senior year. That's been a big one. But he is one of the better playmakers in the state. One of the would Legend play quarterback in college? Kate, absolutely not. Legend is a wide receiver that could maybe play some wildcat, but not really. He's more, could he line up in the backfield like a Ryan Niblett as a wide receiver? Yeah, he's a better playmaker on offense than Ryan Niblett is. But he is a really talented player, but he's a wide receiver that you can use it as a gadget guy as well. But having one of the best senior seasons in the state of Texas. And one of the initial questions, what does that mean for Jalen Lott? Well, Chris Jackson was by Panther Creek on Thursday to see Jalen Lott. Jalen Lott still remains interested in Texas despite being committed to Oregon. Those discussions have continued with the Texas staff. I don't think it's necessarily an either-or situation. I mean, Legend Bay is one of the best athletes in the state. So if Jalen Lott raised his hand and said, you know what, Coach Sark, I want to flip from Oregon to Texas. I'm not claiming that's happening. I'm playing the if game. That doesn't mean Texas would be out with Legend Bay. Legend Bay is a really good football player.
Hey, Gerry, you mentioned all of this work that Sark's doing. He's been in the Metroplex for 2 days. He's at Waxahachie's game last night with Cohen Brown. Obviously, they've got Cohen Brown and Chris Stewart committed at wide receiver, but they want a couple of more in this class, or at least one more. Legend Bay looks like he's a possibility, young man out of North Forney. And then also Jalen Lott, the legacy University of Texas recruit, young man at Frisco's Panther Creek High School, is committed to Oregon. We'll see if Texas is able to shake either of those guys loose. Gerry, there are a lot of other recruiting news and notes out there. You put some stuff up on the board today. A lot of defensive line news and notes. Make sure you guys go check that out, as well as an offensive lineman from Gonzales, Louisiana, down in the southern part of the state, East Ascension, that Texas is trying to get in for an official visit in November. He already visited unofficially last weekend as well. We've got all the news and notes on that over on.
And Texas would want Legend Bay to come in the Arkansas weekend. That's the big weekend remaining. Obviously, the playoffs, where you're at in the playoffs, where you're at in the playoffs when you play has an impact there. I need to answer this one other recruiting question real quick. Tennessee Longhorn. Should I convince my cousin to go to Texas? He has the offer. Absolutely not. The kid always needs to make his own decision. What's best for him. I know his family, but he's got to go where he wants to go. Otherwise, if he goes to Texas and it doesn't work out,
leave it anyway.
You're getting the blame, baby.
Yeah,
you don't want the blame if it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
if all things are equal.
Mm-hmm.
All things are equal. Hey, Rod, real quick, we'll go next to the line being what it is at the Georgia game. Talk a little bit more about that in this live stream. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Garage Beer Light and Lime with 95 calories. Rod, do you have the lime or you have the regular?
I got the classic. Here. I haven't tried the lime, though. I will tell you, I'm going to try the lime. I got a 12-pack. When I'm done with that, I'm going to try the lime. That's
okay. 95 calories per can, 3 grams of carbs, and only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer. This is beer the way it should be, cold, crisp, easy. That's Garage Beer, no gimmicks. There's Garage Beer Light and Lime with 95 calories, 3 carbs, and again, only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer. Thank you for their ongoing sponsorship of On Texas Football. Rod, going to you and talk a little Georgia game now and what that looks like from the line perspective. New line kind of out today. It looks like Longhorns, the underdog by about anywhere. What is that?
6. It's up to 6.
It's 6. Everything else was previous. So this 2.5 that you see open is from back before.
The initial.
Now it's 6, almost a touchdown favorite for the Bulldogs next week. What are you thinking, Rod?
I just think it's because the Longhorns have not been consistent, right? We've seen the best of that Texas offense recently, but then now you're starting to see some of the defense, actually, at least some of the frailty, if you will, in the secondary for that Texas defense. And so I just think ultimately Georgia has been more consistent. There's been more consistent product all season long. And they're not sure if you can count on Texas on the road. Georgia's one of the toughest places to play, and Texas struggled at Kentucky, struggled, on the road at Mississippi State. Not that those aren't tough places to play. Matter of fact, Georgia will be, at Mississippi State, and they'll find out how tough it is to play there. But ultimately, can you trust Texas? I think is what that Vegas line implies. Like, can you trust this product? Like, it looked good versus Vandy. It looked fantastic the last couple of weeks offensively, and defensively, they've been, I think, a pretty consistent product defensively, especially when it comes to pass rush and when it comes to their rush defense. The pass defense, that's a different discussion. That's one of the problems they need to solve over this bye week, or at least come up with some creative solutions there. Hopefully Taft coming back is part of that. But I'm not even sure how much I can trust what I've seen from Texas the last couple of weeks offensively. Will that travel on the road at Georgia? Sark versus Kirby. Once again, I think that's one of the ultimate storylines that I'm not sure if Vegas believes they can trust Sark going up against Kirby Smart in this situation. He hasn't necessarily proven that he can best Kirby Smart in these situations. So there's a lot of unknowns, I think, on the Texas side. More knowns, of course, with Kirby Smart, especially Georgia at home, and the product that they've put on the field. For Texas, we've been all over the place. We're starting to settle into an identity of what we think, but there hadn't been much carryover from one week to the other. That's what I think Georgia has over Texas right now.
Yeah, and Georgia's 37-1 at home under Kirby in the last 38.
That too.
That's a big number, man. That's a big number. And then I think also, as this thing gets in the midweek, if Vegas knows Taft's plan, Wingo is healed up more because they have a weird way of finding out. Jelani McDonald's head's feeling better. If Georgia doesn't sustain any other injuries, because Jordan Hall, one of the starting D linemen, out for the year, it'll be interesting to see if it changes and how Georgia looks this weekend against Mississippi State. But I think it's really the health of Texas that some of those guys that could move that number around a little bit too.
Man, I have a hard time believing that Texas isn't going to be almost fully healthy for this.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like Wingo is, Sark said he could have come back in the game last Saturday, right? Taft has been pointing towards this Georgia game so much so that he was questionable on Thursday night going into the Vanderbilt game, right? So he almost tried to make it back for this one. McDonald dealing with a concussion, yet I will say this, he was in the post-game locker room celebrating, So he got dinged early. It could be similar. I mean, look, I want to say this about concussions. Rod, this is a question for you, actually. Let's sidebar real quick on concussions.
Yep.
Sorry about this, guys, because it's something I've been wanting to talk to a player about. Did Arch just get his bell rung, or do you have a full-blown concussion in your you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I felt like now you get your bell rung, it's automatic, you're out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Before guys would get their bell rung, then go back in two series later. Is that maybe what happened to Arch? Maybe what happened to Jelani? Because you're not, if you really have a concussion, you're not in there in the post-game locker room jumping up and down. I mean, I don't think. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
I think they err on the side of caution now, because now we're much more enlightened about head injuries and brain trauma and the severe long-term effects of it. So I think everything is, why not put them in concussion protocol just in case? Now, if it's not a concussion, then great. They'll be cleared and there's no worries at all. But if it is a concussion, even if it's a slight one, you'd rather them be in the concussion protocol so you can take the necessary measures to make sure that those guys, that they aren't necessarily at risk going back out to the practice. So I think you're right. I think ultimately, if there's any potential for a brain injury or head injury, they just put them in concussion protocol. When back in the day, it was like, oh man, you good, right? You're all right. You're all right. Yeah. Okay. How many fingers am I holding up? All right, he's good to go back in the game. Now I think instead of those tests they used to do on the sidelines, like no test, you're in concussion protocol. Because we don't want to have to deal with any potential, severe effects or long-term effects of it. And honestly, I like that. I like that protocol. I like that mentality rather than, hey, let's try to tough it out, be a warrior. With head injuries and brain injuries, I'd rather err on the side of caution.
I think, Arch called his a concussion.
He did. But you don't want to.
I know.
There's got to be grades.
I think I had my first one during the Kentucky game, by the way.
I've never had a concussion, so I don't know. Like I ain't never hit anybody that damn hard where I would knock myself out. Like it is not how the way I operate. And I always try to keep my head up and I grab the legs. Like there's some guys who were like, oh yeah, I had a concussion, man. I played right. Like, no. And it's like, I knew it. Now that I heard about concussions, and once I learned about it, I was like, oh, I had one of those in one game. And I'm like, that is scary as hell to me, that you realize later in your life, like that's what was wrong with me, that I had a concussion. So I'd rather go with the caution, go err on the side of caution all the time.
Okay. I just want to get that out there because I feel like back in the old days, a player would get their quote unquote bell rung. Now, maybe that is a slight concussion.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And now they're being more cautious. All right, sorry about that sidebar.
No, it's a good one.
Questions and topics. We always try to use this as a Friday afternoon live stream that you guys can get your questions answered without the game coming up tomorrow. We're gonna put it all out there for you. Let's start with this rapid calm. Go get you some money, Garrett. That's the Zach Calzada thing. What is your comment on that? I don't know if people have seen this, but Zach Calzada, who was the starting quarterback at
Kentucky,
is out there waving $100 bills right now. What's he talking about there, in your opinion, Rod? I think
some fan called him out, apparently, and his response to the fan called him out that he wasn't very good or whatever. That kind of bickering on social media. He posted a video of himself with a wad of cash, like a ton of money, and he flashing it. And I believe his response was, "Go get you some money." Garrett was the fan that was criticized. Go get you some money, Garrett. When you criticizing me, I'm getting my money. You go get you some money. It's not a good look at all for the Kentucky program or for that young man overall. Because I don't think he has an NFL future, so he's going to be out there at one point trying to get a job, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? And people go look at that that's how you conduct yourself. Really, that's not very that's distasteful. That's unbecoming of a player supposed to be a leader on the team, that kind of stuff. So he's not doing himself any favors. I'm glad these guys are getting their cash. But yeah, man, like I said, that's kind of disrespectful to not just the Garrett guy. I know the Garrett guy, he deserves to for him to put him in his place. But the flash of the money, online like that. I mean, putting yourself in danger too. Not everybody knows you got some money. You can be putting yourself in danger. But I think there's a way to conduct yourself. I mean, you can, and everybody knows that you're blessed, but you can be humble about that. You got to go flashing $100 bills on screen and online like that. That's crazy. That's wild, man.
We're fastly approaching that with Carson Beck's next press conference, by the way, with one more loss.
Hey, I want to say this. The thing about money and these young kids, my comment to them would be, it's kind of like when you score a touchdown. Act like you've been there before. That's the best. That is typically the best way to treat it. Our buddy, pal, Chief Big Guy. Texas women's basketball tonight plays a ranked number 24 Richmond in Austin at 7 o'clock on the SEC Plus network. That's streaming on the Disney network. If you don't get YouTube TV, I'm sorry. But if you do get it any other way, including via ESPN, you can watch that. Texas women's volleyball also is in Gainesville tonight playing Florida. So we'll see how that goes. Juan Garza, if you have to bet, who does Florida, LSU, Auburn, and Arkansas hire as head coaches? And what are your percentages? Gerry, let's each of us take one team.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you Florida to start, Gerry.
I got Lane Kiffin at 65-70% today, but not a done deal.
LSU, Rod B.
Oh, man, that's the hard one. LSU is the tough one. Maybe they'll go get, I don't know, they can't get Willie Fritz, could they?
They could. I just don't think they will.
That's a sound choice to me for them.
Yeah, he's just older. He's just older. There's not a lot of runway there.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Based on Nick Saban blowing out the birthday cake candles in his recliner chair with a blanket on his legs, I don't think it's going to be him. So LSU fans can put that one to bed.
I'm going to go with Joe Brady. I think he's the dark horse here.
Yeah. So what does Penn State? Oh, we're talking SEC. Okay.
Yeah. LSU. I think that's a real possibility. What about Auburn? Eli Drinkwitz has been one of the guys named, but the Tulane coach, John Sumrall, has some ties to the school. People believe he could be that guy. Arkansas right now, Ryan Silverleaf, the head coach at Memphis, has been linked to that job, namely. But there are some people saying that John Gruden, the former NFL head coach, has put his name out there. He was, by the way, I think that rumor got started when Gruden appeared at the Little Rock Touchdown Club earlier this year. So he may have been making some inroads at that particular time. Gerry, why isn't Eli Drinkwitz being mentioned more in some of these jobs? I mean, LSU and Auburn, Drinkwitz seems like he might be a smart hire.
I think from a football coaching standpoint, he'd be a really good hire for any of these people, honestly. Arkansas is an easy answer, but I don't know if he wins the press conference, and that's sad. I mean, he's kind of seen as I don't mean this as an insult, a dorky guy. He's not seen as that guy, and it's sad that that's kind of what we're talking about with him, but that's what behind the scenes I've had two people mention, well, he's not really the guy that wins the interview and the press conference, so to speak. Well, my response to that's my interview's on the field. My interview's been, how have I done in the portal? I mean, I've done pretty well at everything asked of me at Missouri. And if I hadn't had my 1 and 2 quarterbacks break their legs this year, I'd be in playoff contention at Missouri. I mean, if I'm Auburn, I hire Eli Drinkwitz and not think twice about it. Somebody asked about Clark Lee. I'm not saying anything will happen. I've heard Penn State's going to try a little bit there.
I've heard the same thing. I've heard the same thing with Clark Lee as well at Penn State. But, look, Vanderbilt's going to pay him as much as they can to keep him. And they're part of the SEC. Yeah. They're making all these big money now, too. I mean, it's going to be hard, I think, for any – and I would say this even about Drinkwitz going to Auburn, per se, right? any SEC or Big Ten team to poach from one of those two leagues to go to another one is interesting as well. Does the Alex Golish, does the USF coach get a look anywhere? That's Alex Golish. He's been mentioned both at Florida and Auburn, I believe, at this point. Likely will be up for others as well. All right, got a couple other questions and comments here. Is Texas, this one from Prajapati, Gerry, is Texas still after Caden Finley too? Let me say this. Isn't Caden Finley more of a reasonable approximation of Cohen Brown? Like after Texas took Cohen Brown, that may have, I'm not saying it took it off the table, but those two guys are very similarly styled at receiver. Is that your thought as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I haven't heard anything about Caden Finley in Texas. We know that Lott in Texas, there's still something there. Ultimately, it'll decide it'll come down to what Jalen wants to do. KJ said Finley threw his Texas hat. I don't think he's interested. That wasn't well received. I do know that. But I just haven't heard anything on Texas and Finley in a long time.
Fair. Andrew Yoguez, I think a win in Georgia is harder than a win against A&M. We need the Georgia win. You think it'll be harder to beat Georgia or A&M? I was asked this question on a separate podcast with that SEC, the guys there, Mike Bratton. I mean, look, I think that if it's a 6-point favorite right now for Georgia in Athens, I think that maybe A&M is maybe favored by 2 or 3 points in Austin at this point. So just from a Vegas perspective, Andrew, I would say you're right on that. But, look, I don't want to say they're pick'em games, but if you're favored by less than a touchdown, Vegas is saying either team can win this game.
Yeah. I think Georgia's the toughest win because that place is going to be raucous. And A&M's in Austin. And Kirby's 37-1 in his last 38 at home. And I know they're not as good on defense as they have been, but that's still a game in Athens with a lot on the line. Like a lot on the line for both teams. Kirby's going to have his players, the Athens PD, the fan base, and everybody us against the world when Texas rolls in for that game. That is going to be a tough road environment.
What do you think, Rod?
No, it's you've beaten A&M, right? So he's psychologically as a program, believe you could beat A&M. You've already done it. With Georgia, you haven't done it. You haven't beaten Georgia. You faced them, in the SEC title game last year. You came close, but you haven't beat them yet. So psychologically, especially now, you got another, kind of another factor with having to go on the road to play them at their place. Obviously, you're on the road playing them in Atlanta for the SEC title game, but now you're at their place. That's a whole different monster altogether. And they're going to play better versus Texas than they played all year. I'm convinced of that. The the Georgia that we watch versus, Bama, and the Georgia that we watch versus other teams this season. I got a feeling you're going to see Georgia play their best ball of the season versus Texas. Like that's just kind of the way it works out. No doubt.
I don't like that, Rod.
Kirby has that John Calipari about him where he just has Coach Irwin was talking about a way of motivating a very talented team when you look at them and say, dude, y'all are really talented. How are you really taking the us against the world mentality? He pulls it off with his guys like Cal used to at Kentucky. They could be 38-0 and Cal makes some of those guys think they suck and everybody thinks they're going to lose.
Yeah, against Texas, it's easier too because you can play, and it's weird, even though they're favored, you almost play the underdog card and you can play it with your guys because Texas gets so much hype. With Arch, with everything, Texas gets so much hype coming into the season. And that's all Kirby's going to say. You see how much hype they got going into the season? You see all the hype they got? Arch getting all this hype. Yeah, these guys ain't even proved it. Y'all proving it. Y'all should be getting all the hype. They ain't giving y'all the hype. They're giving them hype. He's going to flip it psychologically. And it's easy to do against Texas. And so I just think, from the guys that I've talked to, NFL players and guys behind the scenes, trainers, they say it all the time. Oh, man, guys love to play Texas. They look forward to it. It's circled. If you're a baller, you circle that Texas game. Like, yeah, that's the game. All the scouts going to be there. And I'm going to go up against this guy who was highly ranked. I remember that guy. Yeah, I'm gonna make some money against Texas. It's circling for everybody. All the coaches circling too. Kirby's got it circled. Everybody. That's a good thing, by the way. But you got to know you're gonna see. You saw Kentucky's best. You saw Mississippi State's best. You know, you're gonna see Georgia's best. You saw Florida's best. Have we seen Florida?
Hey, look, Texas is one of those teams. They always have been, no matter what league they've been in, guys. No matter what league. Hey, before we get to questions from Tom Bailey, AJJ, Roll Left, Kate Stewart, and stuff, Rod, please do us a favor and tell folks about the University Co-op as well as 40 Acres and that collection. You're wearing one of their shirts right now, bud.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorites, actually. Love it. It's breathable fabric. I'm a guy. I start sweating. I get hot all the time, but not in my 40 Acres apparel. It's fantastic. You'll love it as well, folks. The University of Texas Co-op and 40 Acres apparel. We want to thank them for their sponsorship. The University of Texas Co-op is a nonprofit that has been serving the Longhorn community since 1896. Every penny of profit directly benefits course material scholarships. In fact, over 9,000 students will receive course material scholarships this academic year. 40 Acres Apparel, also born inside DKR, designed and built exclusively for the University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. To go down to University of Texas Co-op or go to universityoftexascoop.com and get geared up with 40 Acres Apparel. Great designs. It's fashionable, high quality, SPF 50, moisture wicking. I love the collar integrity as well. It's just a fantastic product. I've been wearing it for probably a decade or so. It's great. You look good. You feel good in 40 Acres Apparel. 40 Acres is also a proud sponsor of the course material scholarships for UT Athletics. Thank you very much to 40 Acres Apparel and University of Texas Co-op.
I love the University Co-op. We're there every Fridays of home games. Please stop by. Next one will be Arkansas, I believe, on the 22nd, coming up in a couple of weeks. Got to go to Athens next weekend first, though. All right, here we go. Next question coming in. This one from, where'd it go? I just missed it. Why did I miss it? Tom Bailey. There it is. Ooh. Sorry, guys. Putting it up now. It's actually Cole Hudson to step in for the troubled left guard position. Not the best thing that has happened to this offense at this point. It was pretty big against Vanderbilt. They didn't have any. It looked like, you know what looked good to me against Vanderbilt and Rod and Gerry? Communication. Communication. Now, maybe that started a little bit against Mississippi State in the fourth quarter. Not debating that. But, I mean, was Texas fooled by a blitz at all against Vanderbilt? Even though that's what Clark Lee is somewhat famous for, fooling people with blitzes.
They had one QB hit, I believe. They had six pressures and one QB hit.
The one QB hit was on the touchdown to Emmett Mosley.
Yeah, there you go. So,
look, I think it's still, and I think the communication is the biggest part of it. But I still think it's matchup dependent on what the athletes are lined up across from you and how powerful and athletic those guys are. And Georgia's a different look than Vanderbilt. So just because you had success against Vanderbilt doesn't mean it's the same success against Georgia. I mean, that, and Georgia doesn't have the D-line they had last year. I'm not saying that, but they still have bigger, better athletes than what Vanderbilt. There's a reason one's Georgia and one's Vanderbilt. And the linebackers at Georgia are ridiculously good, and they're going to be hammering the A-gap. So you better be on your game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Look, I would also say this. If Texas pass protected that well against Florida, Texas would be 8-1 instead of 7-2.
Yeah,
most likely.
Amen.
But Florida has different athletes than Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
To Jerry's point. All right, this one from AJJ. Is it time to start Cade Phillips opposite of Manny Muhammad? Let's ask our president cornerback, who might just have an opinion on that. Thanks, AJJ.
That's a good question. I mean, I was surprised when Sark openly told the media that part of the reason they played so many corners in the last game was that they're also opening up the cornerback competition a little bit. They want to see opposite Manny, obviously, if the young guys. I think the plan is for them to push Gilbo. I think they're playing ultimately. They want Gilbo out there. I think their plan is for have him push. But if those young guys end up out there making more plays, because one of my big criticisms of the play in the secondary last 2 weeks is some guys get beat. It just happens. They're really good athletes, as Mac used to always say. That guy's on scholarship too. You got really good athletes on that side of the ball, but they don't make any plays on the football. I mean, they got one PBU in the last 2 games, and they faced like 80-something pass attempts. And think about early in the season, they're getting their hands on footballs. All right, guys are beating them, but they're at least, John McDonald's getting picks. Manny Muhammad's getting picks. Taff was out there getting picks. They're getting their hands on football. They're making plays on the ball. Lately, they haven't been making plays on the ball at all. That's what's concerning me the most. And if those young guys go out there and you're giving them, say, I think Cade Phillips had, like 19 snaps, something like that in that Vandy game, and he's the only one that got a PBU. Let's say you put him out there another, 15-something snaps versus Georgia. He ends up making a play on the football. Well, the rule of thumb is like if that young guy's making plays, let's leave him out there and see if he ends up making more plays. So I think that can be one of the ways that Gilbo gets kind of outshined in this competition. Right now, I think the plan is to push Gilbo so that Gilbo now doesn't feel like, oh, it's my spot, because I think they want more. I know they want more consistency out of Gilbo. Him and Grayson Littleton are the most targeted players in the secondary week to week. And Grayson Littleton is perfectly understandable why. He's a true freshman. You see a true freshman anywhere, you go, we're going after that guy. He's a true freshman. And Gilbo is one of your most veteran players in the secondary. Teams shouldn't be going after him like that. And if they are going after him, by the way, because they went after me. All right, I was that guy. That's how I know about that dude. You think went after Quentin Jammer? Hell no, they're not going after Quentin Jammer. They're going after Nathan Basher, who's the all-time leader, tied with Noble Dawson Picks. They ain't going after them dudes. They going after that other dude. That was me. And I was like, hey, they came after me. That's fine. And I got beat a few times, no doubt about it. But I also made plays on the football, and that's what they're not doing. So I think that's what the coaches want. All right, you're gonna get beat, but right now they're not getting enough guys at the point of attack, or at least at the catch point, making plays on the football. So I think that's what they want out of some of these youngsters. And Cade Phillips right now, Kobe Black, I'll admit, he's been out there, and I thought he was a front runner to at least be able to push for that competition at the other spot. But I think they like Cade Phillips just as much now, if not more, than they like Kobe Black. And that's not concerning, but he's a younger guy. Kobe Black's been in the system longer. So based on the reps, Kobe Black should be getting twice the reps of a Cade Phillips. We'll see what they do in the next game. Obviously, Georgia's a different monster altogether, considering it's a different beast. But we'll see if they play some of those younger corners out there like Cade Phillips and Kobe Black, and they make plays. We could be talking about those guys getting way more snaps at the cornerback position.
I think it has long speed and length that, no offense, Jalen Gilbo doesn't have, Kobe Black doesn't have. He is younger. And the other thing I would say about targeting of not only Gilbo, but also Rod, of Grayson Littleton, you got to remember that's out of the slot. You're going to target the slot quite a bit.
Yes.
Against Texas, especially with the Texas pass rush. Bobby Burton says, hard to make plays on the ball when your zone defender is 5 yards away. Jerry, do you want to say something about that?
Well, corners against Georgia are going to have to be physical. This is going to be a physical game. You got to be able to play the run. You got to be able to go. I mean, Dylan Bell blocking you is physical. If you're out there at corner, there's a certain physicality. So who's ready to have that physicality too? Because Georgia's ran it 335 times, and they've thrown it 245 this year. They're running it 58% of the time. They're going to try to physically get after Texas in this game. They're going to test, because Georgia thinks they're a much more physical team than Texas. So playing the run and being physical, that position is going to be key too.
You can, if you're in Georgia, you can basically take the Florida game plan and you can implement it. You can just say, no, we're going to do exactly what Florida did against y'all. We're going to run the rock, and we're going to be so good at running rock, you're going to have to bring that safety down to that box, and you're going to put them corners on some islands just to put 8 in the box at times. And when you do, Gunner going to take his shot downfield with Zachariah Branch or maybe tight ends, whatever it be. So if I'm Georgia, I'm pretty much looking at that Florida game plan going, we can do that. We can. That's something we can execute. And so we'll see. But I agree. I think they believe they can win the trenches. And to beat Georgia, everybody knows you got to beat Georgia in the trenches. Ain't no way around it. Yeah. Ain't no way of making it a track meet against Georgia and beating them. You got to beat them at one point in the trenches.
Kate Stewart with a question. Beating Georgia but losing to A&M at home the last game of the season keeps you out of the playoffs, in my opinion. Vice versa gets you into the playoffs. Your thoughts?
I agree with Cade here. And look, I obviously went out, and this is not even a discussion, so we're probably in the if game. I've said before, if you lose to Georgia, beat Arkansas if A&M's 11-0, and if A&M beats Missouri tomorrow, they're going to be 11-0. It was South Carolina with that offensive line's not beating A&M in College Station, and then you have Samford. I do agree with this. If you had to pick one of the two games, the worrisome thing at 9-3 and losing to A&M is not you lost at home, and that's the last time the playoff committee sees you, and you lost a home game. And if you beat A&M, A&M's probably going to be 2 or 3 in the college football playoff. You beat the highest ranked team you played outside Ohio State, and I think that will count for a lot if there's a 1-3 loss team that gets in. But I can see the argument both ways.
I will tell you this. My opinion is that context matters, and we don't have all the context yet. And what I mean by that is we don't know how Georgia finishes. We don't know how – I mean, they got to play Georgia Tech. Don't forget about that. That game was, 8 overtimes last year?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That may be the type of defense or the offense that gives Georgia problems. I don't know. I think, Cade, what I would say to anybody that's this is better or that's better, I think we got to wait and see. I mean, I really do. And context will matter, as well as whether or not a 3-loss team gets in at all. Right? So
I do think that's going to happen.
Yeah, let's see. We'll have to wait and see. All right, got a couple more questions coming in. This one from Catch the Wave X. Any word on some of the officiating reviews? I have not heard anything at this point. Vanderbilt's still holding that line, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pun. Sorry if it was a bad pun as well. But, hey, they are still holding. This is a question for us as well here. How well do Texas wide receivers match up to Georgia DBs? Now, Georgia's talented in the secondary.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But there's no Malachi Starks back there this year, Jerry. Rod, y'all's thoughts on how the Georgia DBs match up?
Well, Georgia's secondary's had issues this year. People have thrown the football on them with success. And, we talk about Texas needing to make plays on the ball. Georgia's got 4 interceptions this year. Ellis Robinson, the corner, has 1. KJ Bolden, the safety, Joel Aguero has 1 at safety position. That's it for them. They have 4 interceptions this year. So people have had success. And part of that because they only have 8 sacks. They're not creating
the pass rush. Yeah,
they're not creating pressure, so those guys are having to cover longer than they ever have at Georgia. But people have had success throwing the football and going at multiple Georgia defensive backs, and they've had some injury issues too. Look, I think Texas wide receivers match up really well against Georgia's defensive backs, and that means this game to me. For Texas offense comes down to if you handle the linebackers, you're going to score some points on Georgia. Everybody else has.
What do you think, Rod?
I like that. I think they match up pretty good. Even last year, I mean, think about the SEC title game. Their receivers made some plays against those Georgia DBs. And I think the Georgia DBs last year, the defense overall last year was better. So I think this, and now the wide receivers for Texas, especially if you get, Ryan Wingo back. Sark said if, it was an emergency situation that he would have gone. They're playing their best ball. Amy Mosley now added to the mix. Parker Livingston, of course, but now Ryan Wingo now is playing like a wide receiver 1. I think everybody knows their roles. Looks like the chemistry between Arch and the wide receivers is much better. So I actually, that's one of the matchups I like. Everything to me about that game comes down to the trenches. And I think Sark is going to scheme open like he did in the SEC title game. I think he's going to scheme open some pretty interesting opportunities against the Georgia DBs too by using some cheat codes and stuff like that. So I like that matchup. I'm a little worried about is the one in the trenches on both sides of the ball. But the good news is, like Gerry said, they only got 8 sacks. They are not a formidable defensive line like they were last year. They don't have these elite pass rushers, multiple elite pass rushers on the defensive front. They don't. And they don't make a lot of plays on the back end either, as Gerry just pointed out. They are sound tacklers. Like they're one of the best tackling teams in college football. But in terms of splash and havoc plays, they are not among the league leaders in the SEC at havoc plays. I mean, that's what kind of really wrecked the game plan for Texas last year. They were behind the chain so much because of all the negative plays, the tackles for loss, and the sacks.
Yeah.
They've been in some shootouts this year, no doubt about it. All right, Gerry, please do folks do us a favor and tell folks about one of our newest sponsors, Culligan's.
Yes. You know, when it comes to the water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners that will look bad in the cup and taste worse. That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here in Austin, Culligan Ultra Pure has been serving the community for more than 60 years. Culligan Ultra Pure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or a municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. Sounds good to me. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultra Pure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, Plainview. Man, some really good high school football coaches come out of there and players. So don't wait. Call Culligan Ultra Pure today at 512-339-2378. Ask for Michael to schedule your free water analysis. That's 512-339-2378. Better water starts with Culligan. If you don't believe in reverse osmosis systems, isn't that what happened to the Texas offense the last 2 weeks?
All right, let's tell folks about SeatGeek as well. Any Texas fans going to see the Longhorns take on Georgia next week and don't have tickets at the last minute, give SeatGeek a try if you're still looking. With more than 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. College football and NFL right here in the middle of the season. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket on the app is rated on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as good deal, a viewing area, etc. So you know whether or not you're getting a truly good deal. Look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad, plus every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. Again, download the app, the SeatGeek app. Of course, we've got a deal for OTF fans. Use code OTF10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code OTF10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thanks from our friends over at SeatGeek. All right, guys, we got a few more questions to get to. I want to go with this one right out of the gate. Roll left. Can Texas beat Georgia without forcing turnovers? Man, something tells me Gunnar Stockton has to give the ball away, or Nate Frazier has to fumble. Maybe a deflection off of a Dylan Bell hands, it turns into an interception. I think Texas is going to need something in Athens. I don't know what it is, but I do think they need something, a little juice added to that. What do y'all think?
Whatever it is, it needs to be very clear and not reviewable.
Very true. Very true.
I was last three games, Gunnar Stockton's got 1 interception, I believe. He's been taking care of the football really well the last 3 games. He's starting to find his groove. So I'm with you. I think maybe it comes from a forced fumble recovery, something like that. Texas has forced a lot of those, actually. Just hadn't recovered enough of those.
Yep. Rod, this one for you. Bobby says etc. too much. Do I really? Waiting to see the benefit of Jedi Master Akina. What are your thoughts on when that kind of coaching change could actually help, or is it helping currently? We just don't know because of, look, they lost Jade Barron and Andrew Makuba. Thinking that they were just going to replace 2 guys that are starting in the NFL right now as rookies is a little much. What are your thoughts about waiting to see the benefit of Jedi Master Akina?
Yeah, and obviously the Michael Taft injury has affected things. And then last game, they were just kind of a mash unit in the secondary. Ended up with, like 3 freshmen on the field at one point. I'll admit, there's no doubt that there's leaky coverage in the secondary the last couple of weeks. And nothing's been more frustrating than the last game and busted coverages where guys just running wide open. Literally, the only thing you could not afford to give up was an easy, quick touchdown. And you gave up an easy, quick touchdown to the best offensive weapon out there for Vandy. So what that tells me is, honestly, that guys are not necessarily dialed in I mean, to have a coverage bust like that in a critical situation, also to lose track of the best weapon on the opposing offense as well, should always be special attention played to those guys. So I think, for me, I'm not going to put all that on Coach Aquina because Coach Aquina kind of just got here. I have faith that Coach Aquina can fix these issues. That's what this bye week is about. And a lot of those, in my opinion, is just kind of situational awareness. And I think they were lacking some of that in that game. Think about the busted coverage right before the half in the cover 2. I mean, that was simply, hey, you just got to move. A player needs to move over there. It's an alignment error, essentially, by one of your players. And to me, a guy like Michael Taft might have rectified that for you on the field. Like, hey, you know what? Get over. Just tap him over. I need you to step over here. So I'm not gonna say that right now they have any tragic flaws in the secondary. Like, oh man, this is something they can't fix. This is gonna get them beat week after week. I don't think that's happened, but there's no doubt different teams have found different things that work for them. Like Vanderbilt found the rollout. The rollout worked really well for them. I will say tight ends have been killing them lately in the last 3 games. Remember, Kentucky found those crossing routes that was working really well for them. Certain things, and I think Georgia's probably going to take a little bit of all that's giving you some trouble and try their best to, in the quick game, of course, which has been probably the most frustrating. They're going to try their best to come up with a passing game plan that can reflect the issues that Texas had the last couple of weeks. So I'm not going to put all that on Coach Aquina, man. He just got here. But if you don't find some solutions, you get worse every week. That is on Coach Aquina. I mean, it can't be a downward spiral in the secondary that ends up dragging the rest of the team down, especially when you got the best pass rush arguably in the country.
Yeah.
And a good rush defense. I mean, honestly, everything now can be geared schematically to help the secondary. And guys, you got a good pass rush. They don't have long. Like, they shouldn't have that long back there. So that's why I think making more plays on the ball is frustrating, because you actually know early on in the game when that pass rush is fresh, those quarterbacks are going to be hurried. And you should be able to do, in my opinion, be able to make more plays on the football. So we'll see. That's a big game coming up, obviously, next week, and they had a bye week to fix some of the issues and get healthier back there.
By the way, I think that's Jenny's burner account.
We'll see about that. Donald,
I know it's true because she came back in and posted under a regular account. Jenny, we're on your game.
This one's for you, actually, Gerry. I'm new to the SEC, says Donald Britt. So where do we go on Friday to buy referees?
Probably in Athens. The Athens Police Department is a good place to look.
You go check out the ticket.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
get some player autographs in there while you're there.
Lane Seawright says, "How did Bama beat Georgia? I recall a lot of NFL throws, but what did they do schematically and philosophically?" Lane, we talked a little bit about this morning on Coffee and Football. Rod, love to get your feedback on it as well. Alabama jumped out in front and then stayed in front. That seems to be the way to beat Georgia, actually. Make them play from behind and then don't let them catch back up, and make them not be able to run the ball as much as they want to. Mm-hmm. Bama went up big. Georgia came storming back, but Bama held on. Rod, what do you think here?
I think they kept Ty Simpson really clean too. I remember that. And of course, we've talked about the issues they have generating a pass rush. I think that's a big part of it, because as Gerry said, you can exploit that secondary a little bit and in pass defense, but you got to have time to do it. If Texas has some time, back there, I like the matchups on the outside for the wide receivers, and Arch is playing his best football. So I'm with you. And we've seen a quick start from Texas, to your point, the last couple of games, right? That's been also something that has been, I think, kind of characteristic of this new offensive recipe, like get off to a faster start. So that would follow the recipe that you just threw out there. Get out ahead of Georgia, force them to play, from behind, and see if you can get them out of character a little bit. Because you're right, the run game leads for them, and you can get your pass rush going if you can force Gunnar Stockton into predictable passing situations.
By the way, one of the things Alabama did in that game was they spread the ball around. They kept Georgia guessing. They had 8 different guys catch passes, and that didn't include Caden Proctor. So they had 8 different guys catch passes in that game. Caden Proctor was technically a rush, but they spread the ball out, and I think that's one of the things that is Alabama's strength is you never know where it's coming from against them. They do a good job keeping you guessing. And eight guys catching balls against Georgia, it's a pretty significant number.
Like this one from Rocky P. With how inconsistent our offense has been all season, there isn't a lot of tape of what we can do well. How hard is that for teams to prepare for us? Happy Friday and hook 'em. Thanks, Rocky P, for the super chat. How hard is that? I mean, he's right. I mean, Texans has only played really 5 good quarters against they played 2 good quarters on offense against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
1 against Mississippi State, and I thought 3 against Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. So that's 6. They actually I thought the offense actually played well in the 4th quarter against Vanderbilt. They just didn't capitalize.
Yeah.
6 good quarters of football, and most of that is in 11 personnel, Rod B?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What do we think? How hard is it? You've been on the bench. How hard is it when you don't necessarily know what the team is bringing? Because you haven't seen them. You've only seen them for, 6 quarters play well.
Yeah. I think Kirby will be prepared for the offense that we've seen the last 2 weeks. The one with tempo, with a ton of 11 personnel, the one with the quicker, higher percentage passing game, one that with the pass first mentality, that pass to open up the run. I think that's the offense he's going to prepare for. Now, that offense, I will say, I don't know if you have as much success because they tackle much better in the open space, and they got linebackers that can pursue those screens on the outside, and they can limit them to 3-4 yards instead of 9-10 yards a pop like you were getting against Vandy. So that might force Coach Sark to go, all right, you know what? And he might get impatient. That's the question. Patience is a big thing with Sark in this game too. Is he willing, if you're getting 4 yards a pop on some of those quick game throws, 4 or 5 yards a pop on quick game throws, is it enough for you, Sark, at that, and sprinkle in a little bit of the running game to drive the length of the field without making a lot of mistakes, right? Without a lot of penalties, without giving up negative plays, which is on your side, by the way, because they don't force a lot of them, and then be able to march down the field in double-digit drives. That's what this offense has been able to do. But like I said, what if Georgia takes away the extension of your running game, which has been the quick passing game? What do you do then? Do you have to go downfield? If you go down the field, what's the pass protection looks like? So I think he's going to be prepared for the offense you've seen the last 2 weeks. That's the one that's looked the best, and that Oklahoma offense. But it's kind of it's very similar. That Oklahoma second half and this last 2 weeks are very similar looking offenses.
All right, a couple more questions coming in here before we call it an afternoon here on Friday afternoon. Live stream brought to you by our friends over at Garage Beer. Jose Siciliano, if we win the coin toss, man, you're talking about 8 days away here, Jose. If we win the coin toss, do we defer to the second half or do we want the ball? Gerry Hamilton, what do you think?
They'll defer on that one. They'll defer on that one. I kind of wondered against Vanderbilt if Texas might take the ball in that game, but I think you defer against Georgia.
I agree, but I'm one of those guys that always says defer. I don't think I've ever said anything different.
Coach Shipley says take the ball.
I know. I'm with him 65% of the time.
Coach Shipley says take the ball. So I think if you want to start fast and lead with your offense, you can, but your defense is so good that it depends on what I'm about what your strength is, and their strength is their defense. You can lead with that, Texas.
Yeah. I want to kind of close out with this because it's something that we hit on earlier in this discussion. Bobby Burton, 2 starting centers will help with communications.
It's good.
I tell you what, of all the things. Because Gerry, you're right. I mean, Nick Brooks is more talented, air quotes, than Connor Robertson, Cole Hudson, heck, maybe almost everybody on the offensive line. But he's also the youngest. And experience matters, communication matters, and that may be, it may have been just what the doctor ordered. We'll see, to your point, and like we talked about earlier, whether or not that step up in competition can be met head on. One thing I will add, what I thought, and this is, just me, Trey Wisner had his best game in pass protection I've ever seen him have at Texas.
That's good.
I mean, he was attacking linebackers in the hole as opposed to getting knocked back by them.
Yeah.
That's going to be an absolute mandatory situation against Georgia because Georgia's linebackers are more athletic.
Four draft picks, maybe 5.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hey, let me. Here's Juan Garza. Yeah, Rod, you're right. But Sark will have them ready. He's 0-2 against Kirby. Sark will have an edge to him for the games, I hope.
It's a big game personally for Sark. I mean, it really is. You can, like, at the end of the day, we can say, well, Texas would have beat Washington back in the day if Bijan and Roschon had played in the bowl game, right? I mean, we can say, oh, man, Bert Auburn would have won the SEC title if he makes a kick. But people don't care about that at the end of the day. I mean, the old "you are what your record says you are" deal. This is a big game for Sark. The last thing he wants to do is go 0 for 3 against Kirby in the first 2 years. Then you're not going to see them again unless you play them in the SEC title game, and that's a lot of chirping and recruiting now.
Exactly. Yep. No, he's right. I think Sark is one of those games. Obviously the big games, the big non-conference games. We know Sark does a ton of preparation in the offseason for those big games. I bet this is also another one where Sark had it circled. Got a lot of offseason prep.
Oh yeah,
Georgia game, in my opinion. And you had the history of obviously playing him twice. So I expect Sark to be deep in his bag, as we say about Sark. If not, I'd be very disappointed.
This one from Alessandro Franco. Going to stay with you, Rod. Do you think y'all think the double moves will be there for Texas wide receivers? I feel like Georgia will play the short stuff over aggressively. That's what you were talking about, Rod B.
Yeah.
They tackle better because they're very aggressive underneath.
They're fast flow and they're quick, what I call quick keys. So they don't hesitate when they see something they've been prepped for on film, like with your staple concepts and whatever your tendencies are, they go. That's why the Sark screens and all that stuff, it doesn't work against Georgia because they're so fast flow. But Sark figured that out. So go back and look at a lot of those big plays in that second matchup in the SEC title game, guys. You had a reverse whip route for DeAndre Moore for the overly aggressive corner, right? That's trying to crash down and jump that route. Had a reverse whip, went for like 22 yards. You had a 32-yard double move that was big in that game too by Matthew Golden. You had a 41-yard stalk slant. Remember that DeAndre Moore stalk slant where they look like they're going to throw the screen and then boom, he comes out that slant. He's wide open, gets a touchdown off of that. They had a lot of those types of moves. I call them ag beaters, aggression beaters for really aggressive defenses. And I think you can put a lot of, and this is the way we know they were important because they were most of them on third down. That 22-yarder was 3rd and 4. The 32-yard double move, 3rd and 14. 41-yard stalk side, it was on 3rd and 3, excuse me. And you had a 5-yard whip route on a 4th and 2. What does that say? We know that Kirby Smart has his guys prepped for critical moments and critical situations where teams want to go to their staple concepts, things they do really well. So Sark came in with basically very specific, scenario-specific plays to beat them in 3rd downs and 4th downs on money downs. You're going to need that. Oh, you're going to need that coming up when you go to Georgia. No doubt.
I also say this, and I'm not saying it's the difference maker, but I think it helps. It's the first game that A.J. Milwaukee's been in the booth versus Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the sidelines coaching Quinn in between possessions last year. Sark has his eyes back in the box, and I do think that has helped this Texas offense. Let's see if that carries over to a game like Georgia.
All right, one final question. This was our friend Buddy Powell, Chief Big Guy, put this out to the chat as a whole. Stress-free bye week question for the chat. Which mid-major Texas team would you coach at? I'm feeling North Texas, even though I know everyone loves Texas State. Am I right in that Texas is the most applied to school in the state of Texas?
Yeah.
For high school students, that has to be a benefit. It's also centrally located. It has some endemic fan base there long term, which is different than maybe a UTSA, right? What do y'all think?
I think North Texas is the best, right? Because you have DFW.
Okay.
I mean, I like North Texas in football. I always have, and now with Rev Share. I mean, North Texas is right there in Denton. I mean, you could get a third of your team within 70 miles, a third of it. That is a good place to be with as much talent as there is in DFW. And then you get the kickbacks from kids in DFW who transfer back from Power 4. You're in a pretty good spot. Now, a lot of these jobs are does a quarterback hit lightning in a ball at quarterback, which Eric Morris absolutely did and has. And he's going to get a job in the offseason. And he's going to take that guy with him. What job that is, I don't know, but it's coming. So does the next guy hit lightning in a ball? A quarterback that never started a high school game.
That's crazy.
Is about if Morris doesn't get a job, that kid would be able to go into the portal and make $3 to $4 million. And he never started a high school game.
Wow.
That quarterback has an absolute hose of an arm, by the way.
Yeah.
I saw some overlay throws with his name's Meestmaker.
Yep. Out of Vandergrift.
Yeah, he has a big time arm. I saw some throws overlaid with throws from Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And some similarities there. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you think? What do you think for the mid-major type team that you would pick, Rod B?
No, that's good. I always was partial to Texas State, though. I mean, we always used to have to we always win against them in like 7-on-7 in the offseason back in the day. So, and I think with Central Texas booming, I mean, you just said that kid's from Vandergrift. The kid out there in Texas. I think Central Texas is booming a little bit too ever since. I mean, honestly, obviously it's not DFW, it ain't Houston, of course, but behind those areas, I mean, right now Central Texas, probably third best, just kind of metropolitan area in the country in Texas in terms of producing NFL talent. And I think for Texas State, if they get the right kind of backing, man, the campus is great. They got really good. I think the stadium's fantastic. They just redid some of the facilities there too. They get some NIL backing, man. It could be really interesting things at Texas State. So I do think Eric Morris is underrated.
You want me to say the quiet part out loud?
He's great. What?
Good live music and good looking girls at Texas State. That matters in recruiting.
You said North Texas ain't got no good looking women?
Not like Texas State does. It goes back to what Bobby said. How many people Texas State's up there. They can challenge Texas Tech and your other schools. They're up there.
Texas is also has a tinge of being a commuter school compared to Texas State.
Yeah.
Who would I pick? Is Baylor a mid-major these days? I'm kidding. I would go with Texas State. There was a time when this was an easy answer, and it would have been SMU just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or U of H or something.
Yeah.
That conversation.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, it would have been too. Yeah. All right. Hey, let's say thanks one last time. And thank you, Buddy Pal, Chief Big Guy. That was a good question to end with. Thanks again to our friends over at Garage Beer. Garage Beer is beer-flavored beer. That's right, beer-flavored beer. If you want to taste beer, try it. Garage Beer, light and lime with 95 calories, 3 grams of carbs, and only 4% ABV. Rod is already having some. We're going to join him in a minute. Beer-flavored beer. It's beer the way it should be. Cold, crisp, easy. That's Garage Beer. Absolutely no gimmicks. There's Garage Beer light and lime with 95 calories, 3 grams of carbs, and only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer. Thank you for sponsoring each and every Friday afternoon live stream for us here. All right, for Rod Babers and Gerry Hamilton, as well as our man behind the scene, Matt Hutchison. He's been killing it today, guys.
Yes, sir.
Reminder, Legend Bay has been offered a wide receiver prospect out of North Forney. We'll see everybody again tomorrow. We've got the Saturday conversation. The three of us are going to get back at it and previews tomorrow's games as well. Guys, y'all have a good weekend. Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.